So TSS 50 has been around for a long time. It really began with ruxolitinib when the Comfort 1 trial was designed. And TSS 50 basically means the proportion of patients that have a 50% reduction in their total symptom score at week 24. And again, when we say total symptom score, it's usually the MF-SAF or myelofibrosis symptom assessment form version 4.0. That's what's being used nowadays in the trials. And so that's what's been pretty standard in myelofibrosis trials. However, what has become apparent is that if you look at the proportion who get a 50% reduction, I mean, that in theory could be a very low value to start with that goes down by 50%, right? So it doesn't tell you necessarily the magnitude of benefit that the individual patient is experiencing. Because it's just the proportion that get a halving or better of their symptom burden. So the absolute change, which is again, as the name suggests, it's the actual change. You just take the mean of all the patients between baseline and week 24. That seems to have more of a meaningful impact in how much the symptoms are actually going down, which I think intuitively tells us a bit more about how much better patients are feeling. So we've seen this used. There is some precedent for this. We've seen this used, for example, in systemic mastocytosis. Avapritinib, a KIT inhibitor, was approved in just recent years based on this endpoint in indolent systemic mastocytosis, which is a very symptom predominant disease. So that is where the primary endpoint of their trial used this measure, that is the absolute reduction in mean TSS. But switching back to myelofibrosis, which is what we are discussing, we also saw this used in an analysis of the pelabresib trial, in Manifest 2, where this large phase 3 trial where they did look at this. Now, unfortunately, there was not a significant difference between the two groups. But of course, with selinexor, one hopes that once we get the results of the phase 3, that perhaps this absolute reduction will be a more clinically meaningful way of assessing symptom benefit than the TSS 50.